So here's a live look into us messing around with a Frisbee trying to develop a game, which we did at the end. So this is actually kind of cool, so you guys get to see real time. So obviously this is sped up. We wanted to mess around with moving laterally to get warmed up because we were kind of feeling a little bit lazy today. And so we're like, look, let's just mess around in a circle and toss a Frisbee around and see what happens. And so as you start doing this, you get some ideas of what movement patterns you might want to incorporate. And this is where the games start to build. So we messed with this first one here because we just wanted to work on staying low. So you had to throw the Frisbee below the hip in order for it to count as a good toss. We liked it. Then we tried kind of a stupid game after this, but I guess that's part of the gig, right? Sometimes you do a drill and you find a good game, and sometimes you do a drill and you think it's going to be a good game, so it's a bad game. So I thought in my head we could take that drill and turn it into like a duck, duck, goose kind of tag game. And it didn't work very well, I'd be first to admit. So you guys can watch the cool success of the first game, and then you can watch the failure of this game, where I try to figure out how we can do a duck, duck, goose version of chase, where I thought in my head, like, look, I could throw it to him, and he could throw it to me, and then we got to tag the person. And I realized really quickly this is not going to work. Now, I don't suggest doing this with an athlete to actually sit there and try and find what game works with them. You probably want to know ahead of time. But Will has kind of been the human experiment with me and been a really good sport about doing this kind of stuff, so we mess around. So I'm like, look, let's just kind of run around and throw the Frisbee around. I noticed on some of the high points that I really liked trying to jump after a Frisbee. And so I thought to myself, maybe we can make a jumping game out of this. Hint, hint, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see here in a little bit. You can also watch us throw a Frisbee around and really not be very good at it at the same time as well. So I kind of got in my head that I wanted to have him do some sort of a high point kind of wide receiver drill. So like he's going to jog side to side. I was going to throw it up and he can be like a wide receiver and make the catch. And then I was stupid enough to do this by the volleyball net here, because eventually I throw it and Will crashes into the volleyball net like you saw there. And I was like, well, that's pretty stupid on my part, but I still like the idea of this. And so again, we're taking the concept of trying to jump, and then we're messing with it and trying to figure out, man, do we like this idea? How can we manipulate it? How can we make it fun? So we're going side to side. And I noticed right here, Will just threw one to me off the bat, and I jumped and got it. And I was like, well, maybe this in place jumping is a lot more fun. So then I keep trying to throw it to Will to make him jump high in place. But again, not totally working at the moment. Now, what you don't see here is behind me, there is a net to divide the courts. And the nice thing about the net is that it's a certain height. I think it's like, well, obviously it goes the whole height of the building, but there's like a blue line of demarcation, which is basically 10 feet, 2 inches. And so I like the idea of jumping and throwing it to us, but there's no game, right? It's just kind of like, it's fun to jump and catch a Frisbee, which is all cool. That's fine, but it's also, kind of annoying to chase after stuff. So eventually I say, well, hey, you stand there and let's use that net as a backstop. And at first it makes a lot of sense because you can stand there and we're not going to have to chase a Frisbee that we miss. And I realized, look, we can make a scoring system out of this. And so I'll share with you at the end of this. See me pointing right there? I'm like, look, I think we can make a scoring system out of this. If I throw it this height and you can't catch it, then, it's X number of points or whatever. So you guys see the real-time development of a game. And I'll share with you the final product of that game right here. So as promised, here is the game, and you can see the setup that we have here. This wasn't planned. It's not like we knew this setup was going to work. It just, you kind of have an idea and you chew on it and you kind of use this core centerpiece of jumping around as the main point. Good toss by Will right there. And as the kind of the centerpiece that we're trying to accomplish. And then you just kind of find a way to build a game around it. As you see here, I kind of stink at this game, but I get a lot better, I promise. We got warmed up after this. It's not like every game's going to be perfect. Not every game's going to be that fun. But eventually you'll find a way to make the game equally competitive and equally workable. So you can see us here kind of struggling through some of the rules. And I wanted to show this with you guys because you guys might see some of these games that we play and think every time it works perfectly. No, not every time it works perfectly. You don't even know the rules of the game. You're inventing something. And that's the fun part of it, but also the challenging part of it. I dropped the pass. I was kind of mad. And we got it ironed out. So at the very end of the last kind of 6 minutes of this, which I didn't film horizontally, so you guys will have to watch it on Instagram. We get the rules down pat. It's actually really fun. All in all, I think it was a 8.5 out of 10 in terms of the game. It's just awesome. But I wanted to share with you all the real-time evolution of how we kind of figure out how to work a game and make it something that we can actually compete in. So let's see my last round right here, because I want you guys to see a piece of this where it actually gets real active here. There we go. Starting to jump after it. The rules of the game are simple. If it hits the blue within the square, it's a point. If I knock it down, it's no point. If I catch it, it's a point for me. It's just fun. Compete, jump high. It's a blast.